Good afternoon, and welcome to the Noontime Knowledge Series for Penn State fundraising volunteers, presidential counselors, and donors. Thank you for joining us, and please know that the event is being recorded. I'm Maureen Cooper, Director of Commonwealth Campus Athletics, and I'll be your host for today's event. It's my pleasure to facilitate this conversation about women's athletics at Penn State. This afternoon, we'll be celebrating the 50th anniversary of Title IX with a roundtable discussion with three of the university's distinguished coaches. After the discussion, I'll host a Q&A session with our presenters. You can enter questions in the chat box at any time or raise your hand during the Q&A portion. Now, I'd like to introduce and thank our speakers for joining us today. Katie Schumacher-Cawley is a 2002 graduate of Penn State, where she was a two-time All-American and helped bring home the university's first volleyball national championship in 1999. Prior to her role as head coach at Penn State, she served in coaching roles at the University of Illinois, Chicago, as well as the University of Pennsylvania. Thanks for joining us, Katie. Clarissa Crowell has a bachelor's degree in psychology from Virginia Tech and a master's in recreation and sport management from Ohio University. She's coached at Syracuse, Oklahoma State, and Miami University, where she departed as the university's winningest coach with over 200 wins. She began her role as head coach of the Penn State softball team in 2020, when, in her first season, a program record-breaking 16 student athletes earned academic all Big Ten honors. Welcome, Clarissa. Finally, Charmaret Curtis is a two-time Olympian, currently in her 36th season as Penn State field hockey's head coach, making her the longest tenured coach in the Big Ten. Among her many achievements, she's led the Penn State field hockey program to a number 3 ranking in all-time NCAA tournament appearances with a total of 33. She's a 1979 graduate of Penn State. Thanks for being here, Char.
Thanks, Mo.
So before we jump in, I'd like to take a moment to highlight some of the history that inspired today's event. Signed into law by President Nixon in 1972, Title IX, celebrating its 50th anniversary this year, has a pretty simple message. No person should face discrimination in educational programs or activities on the basis of sex. What sounds straightforward to us today was a landmark decision in the 1970s that formally gave women equal access to education in the United States for the first time in the nation's history. Really, one of the law's most profound effects has been on college athletics. At the time Title IX was passed, women made up only 15% of college athletes nationally. 50 years later, in 2022, they make up 44%. At University Park, there are close to 400 female student athletes participating at the NCAA Division I level. There are about 1,200 female student athletes participating throughout the Commonwealth. Penn State has 19 Commonwealth campuses that offer intercollegiate athletics. 5 campuses participate as NCAA Division III members, and 14 campuses participate within the United States Collegiate Athletic Association. Our distinguished panelists will be talking today not only about the legacy of Title IX, but also how philanthropy can support female student athletes moving forward. Specifically, Penn State Athletics has recently created the Women's Athletics Program Fund, aimed at supporting the student athletes in Penn State's 15 varsity women's sports. The fund will help to ensure that all sports teams at the university have an opportunity to achieve success and compete at the highest levels. With that, let's get to our panelists. So why don't we start by having each of you tell us a little bit about yourselves and your journey to Penn State. Katie, we'll go ahead and start with you, and then we'll move to Clarissa and Char.
Okay. Hi, everyone. Thanks for being here today. A little bit about my history. I am, born and raised in Chicago. I'll say being a Midwest girl, the Big Ten is very attractive in many ways. I had my dad played football in Michigan. I had a brother that played football at Illinois, and also an uncle who coached football at Michigan. So for me, playing in the Big Ten that's where I was going to go. And I, was very fortunate to have taken a visit to Penn State. Obviously, meeting Coach Rose was a big factor in me coming to Penn State. Just, my relationship with him and how honest he was. how tough it was going to be, but, I wanted to go somewhere that was going to win. And at that point, Penn State was, very close to winning and going to Final Fours and all of that. So I was thrilled to be a part of Penn State. Yeah, so I, came to Penn State and had a great career, on and off the court here. And I'm very appreciative of what I had as an athlete, but, being here now and being able to help push along women's athletics even more with coaches, like Shar and Clarissa. I'm very lucky and feel very fortunate to be here, and look forward to, your questions and how we can help you as coaches.
Hi, everyone. Just thankful for the opportunity to be here with all of you and spend some time. And Katie, that was great because I didn't know a lot of those things. So it sounds like you were destined to go to the Big Ten. But my journey here to Penn State was a little bit different. But just to start with a little bit of my history, I am actually originally from Hawaii. My dad was in the military and ended up getting stationed in Washington, D.C. So for the most part, I was an island girl turned East Coaster, and Mo had talked about my coaching journey and where I've been. I've pretty much been to a lot of different places, but to be back out east here at Penn State nonetheless is just really a blessing and a dream come true for me. But my journey here to Penn State is definitely different than Katie and Shar's. I made the transition in 2020. Needless to say, that was a very interesting time to take over a program. But my decision to come here at Penn State, I will say when the position opened, I was not one of those coaches that instantly said, it's Penn State, I want to go there. It took me a little bit to get to the point where I thought, what, this would be a great decision for me to make a move. And things were going really well for me at Miami. My teams were successful there. So it was going to take the right job for me to make the move. And obviously Penn State in itself is attractive just because it's Penn State, but I needed to make sure that was going to be the right fit for me as a person and as a coach. So I did a lot of research on the university. I spoke to a lot of my colleagues, even people who had formerly been coaches here. And when I looked at what Penn State was about, as far as the values that we have as a university and as an athletic department, just the culture of winning, the standard of excellence that's within our athletic department, and you see it here on this panel with Shar and Katie with the success of their programs. Everything just aligned for me, and I thought that is a place that I can go to. That is a place that we should be successful. And I thought, what, I'm going to go all in for this, and I am so thankful for my decision. I'm blessed to be a Penn Stater, and I will tell you, we're coming off the best season that our program has had since 2011. We broke a ton of records. We defensively, one of the best years we've had from a pitching standpoint. It's the best year that we've had in the past 10 years as well. So we're doing a lot of great things here, but what I'm most proud of my student athletes is that they're doing it the right way. We've had the best team GPA that the program's seen in 10 years. They're doing a lot of great things from an internship standpoint. So, but yes, I'm just thankful. It's a little bit about my journey, a little bit about currently where we are right now as a program. I'm really excited about the future of Penn State softball.
Awesome. Well, it's great to see so many familiar faces and some all the people out there that really helped Penn State be successful. I am so in awe of Clarissa and Katie and what they've done their short time here. I can't wait to see what the next 36 years is going to be like for them, because I'm in my 36th year here, right? So my journey to Penn State really happened 2 different ways, okay? First one, when I came here as a student athlete, I had committed to attend Penn State and had never even seen the school, never even been to the school. I happened to go to Pocono Sports Camp. I grew up in Delaware County, fondly known as Delco. I'm one of 7, a big family, 5 brothers. So I was the first to even think about going to college. My dad worked for the Arco refinery in South Philadelphia, and no one in my family had ever gone to college before. So for this coach, Jillian Rattray, this very proper English woman to see me at the sports camp and contact my high school coaches and say, hey, we think Charlene would be a good fit at Penn State. What do you think? What do you think she'll think? And the fact that there was scholarship money for me to attend Penn State made the world a difference. It wasn't something that, my family had, set aside funds for me to go to college. So this was really a game changer for me to attend Penn State. In fact, there was like a funny moment that I said to my brother, I'm like, I'm not sure I'm, really Penn material. And he said, you're not Penn material. You're Penn State material. Penn is in the city of Philadelphia. It's an Ivy League school. So I was like, whew, okay, well, that was a relief to me. So came up to Happy Valley, and I remember driving up in the car with my parents for orientation. And, you just see the cows. It's a different road today than it was then. Probably took me 4.5 hours, but it just seemed like all of a sudden Oz came out of the sky, and there was this beautiful university, and had the chance to meet Jillian and get my career going. And one of the other, what I loved about coming to Penn State was just not the academics and integrity that they had with academics and athletics, but also I had the opportunity to play 2 sports. So we were on trimesters then. So I played field hockey in the fall, got a little break in the winter, and then played lacrosse in the spring. But, I always say I can't imagine what my life would be like had I not, gone to Penn State. So I left Penn State. I trained for the 1980 Olympics, stayed here to train. And Dr. John Lucas, who is one of our Olympic, I guess, aficionados, someone that knew the Olympics better than anybody else in the world. He was an Olympic historian. Would always motivate me about getting ready to play in Moscow in 1980 when I made the team. And sadly, we boycotted the 1980 Olympics. And with that, I left and went down to Old Dominion to coach for 4 years, ended up going to the LA Olympics in 84. And then right from there, I went to Boston College. So I was at Boston College for 3 years, coaching both field hockey and lacrosse, and I loved it. I was in a vibrant city. I was a big runner. I ran for the BAA, and everything was going great, coaching both teams. And all of a sudden, my coach, Jillian Rattray, retired. And everybody said, well, you need to go. And I sort of was like, Clarissa, I liked where I was. I was in Boston. Boston's a fun city. And now I felt I had to journey back to a little bit of farm country here. But it was something that in my heart, I knew I always wanted to do. It was my dream job, and to be able to have the opportunity to come back here and then to be here as long as I have. Again, it's a dream every day. I'm very appreciative and very grateful for what Penn State has done for me as a student athlete, what it does for me as a coach, and what it continues to do for my players and my staff. And a lot of that is because of all of your support here. So just grateful to be here at Penn State. Let's see how long I can keep it going.
Great, thank you. And I can attest to what Shar just said. I see her running all the time around campus. I actually just saw her, I think maybe last Thursday or Friday. I should have given you a little honk honk, but next time I will. So I mentioned that we're here today in part to celebrate 50 years of Title IX. Have you seen women's sports evolve over the years? And if so, how? How might your experience as student athletes be comparable to those you coach now? Shar, as someone who's spent her career at Penn State, why don't you sort of kick this one off?
Yeah, obviously, I'd say the financial support is very different. They're dressed head to toe in Nike gear. Some of the great facilities that we have, we're in the process of building a new facility. But what I would say has never changed, didn't change when I was here as a student athlete, and does not change with my players now, is I think the pride that we all have of being Penn Staters, and understanding that there are a lot of people that, play a significant role in our lives to help us be successful. When I came to Penn State, I knew that academics was going to be the top priority, because there wasn't, when I entered Penn State, coaching was not really a profession that I could dream about continuing, nor was it an Olympic sport at the time. So my priority really was on academics. And I was thinking that I'd be maybe a high school coach and a high school teacher someday. But I would say that my experience here as a student at a great university, where I had amazing mentors and women that, were amazing role models to me back then. I think our players still have that here at Penn State. The support that they receive academically with the Morgan Center, the tutors, the mentoring program, the alumni just keep growing. Really the way I got to Penn State is one of my sister's best friend was a diver here at Penn State. So I think you always have those people that are really promoting, you know, Penn State and what it really means. I would also say that knowing that the perspective between your academic experience and your athletic experience was very balanced. I never remember having a bad day at Penn State. We had time to be students and get involved in even Thon back then. So I would say our players still have that opportunity. I would say the biggest difference right now is by far their time demand. Their time demands, you know, we played 10 games each season. You know, they're playing 20 to 25. They're flying, you know, to the West Coast, to the Midwest. So it's a lot more on them. There is no off season. The off season begins probably 2 weeks after the season ends. And so now they're preparing for the next season. So I would say the time demands on the student athletes is probably the biggest change that I've seen. Obviously there is that support. The scholarships have definitely, you know, improved and increased in those opportunities, but I would say it's more the time demands, and it's something that I worry about. I worry about with our student athletes. I try to really impress upon them the importance of that life balance, and not just talk about it, but provide ways for them to have time off, more time off in the off season.
Thank you. Katie.
Yeah, you know, just to piggyback off of Shar, I agree. The time demand on these athletes is a lot. I mean, there really is no off season. You know, we're in season right now till we hope December. You know, the girls will go home for Christmas, and then after that, we start up in the spring again. So it is a lot, but I do think the services that Penn State is providing, whether it's with the nutritionists, the academic support, you know, CAP support for these ladies to lean on, you know, other people besides just the coaching staff. I think Penn State does a remarkable job, you know, because of everyone's support for that. It's definitely needed. And, you know, I definitely emphasize using all of these services to help them, you know, not to just be better athletes, but to be better people, and to really put themselves out there in this community, and to be able to make those connections for, you know, life after the sport, because we all know that, you know, sometimes it ends sooner than others, but to be able to have these relationships and, you know, through these connections on the university that will help them with their careers. You know, I think the support through evolving with our travel schedule. Our travel schedule is pretty hefty, and you know, we were just at Louisiana this past weekend. We're leaving Thursday for Minnesota, so I think the support of travel, and you know, Shar said, you know, we're head to toe in Nike, and you know, for me, it's exciting because I like to see that our players are getting these extra benefits. And you know, because I think if you know, you look good, you feel good, and these players have pride in Penn State. And you know, you see it when we travel, you see how prideful they are. And you know, when we're flying through certain airports, and you know, people are yelling across, you know, we are everywhere we go. It's you know, I think they throw their shoulders back a little bit more and feel real good about it. And you know, sometimes when you're just here on campus, you don't really get that feel, but getting them out in the public and that, it's real refreshing. So I think, you know, we've been very fortunate here in volleyball for, you know, being successful, but also for having these opportunities and the support system that we do have, you know, from everyone giving back to the university. We're very lucky. And you know, I think along with, you know, Shar mentioned the alum, I think we're very special in terms of that the alum come back and they want to know how you're doing, and they want to help in any way that they can. And so, you know, I take a lot of pride in that, and making sure that we continue those relationships, because these younger generations need to know about the older ones and the ones that came before them who didn't have these things. But to also be so thankful for, you know, how far we've come. And it's because of those players that we're able to have all of these, you know, extra special fun things. So, you know, I think Penn State is doing it the right way, and involving all aspects of what these college kids need to excel. So we're plugging away, but without all these, support systems, I think it would be a real struggle for some of these women. So thank you.
Thanks, Clarissa.
Yeah, just to piggyback off of what both Katie and Shar said. First off, I think our student athletes here, not just our female athletes, are very fortunate with all of the opportunities and the resources that we have here at Penn State. And I think the one thing with my team, and I know for Shar and Katie, is I do think that our female student athletes are very grateful for everything that they have. I think through the course of time, yes, and obviously I'm just getting here to Penn State, but I do think the resources for female athletes has been great, and we've seen a lot of improvements in that. And I think Katie had mentioned this, but and so did Shar, as far as the time demands of our student athletes, and it's a lot. And it's not just the playing. And for softball, we play 56 games, so we are we're always on the road. But it's that it's obviously being a student, but there are so many other things that female or just all athletes have. But I'm really proud of our student athletes for all the things that they do away from the field and away from just academics, as far as being a part of ADLI, which is our athletic department's leadership program, being a part of SOB, which is our student athlete advisory board, doing the community service. And I know Shar and Katie's kids are doing the same thing. I think in the light of a lot of things that have happened, diversity, equity, and inclusion is extremely important to our team. So what I've seen throughout, and really just the past few years, is just our student athletes, especially our female, they're exposed to so much. And I think our kids, at least my team, they've taken some ownership in that, and they really want to make a difference and have an impact. So I think that has changed. I think, as a department, our GPA was a 3.21. So I think, yes, I think everybody sees all of the great things that our student athletes get, which yes, they do, but our student athletes work hard, especially our females. They work hard for what they have. They're grateful for what they have. And you know what, they're getting the job done in the classroom as well. So I'm just really proud of that. But I think that just the evolution of college sports, our female athletes have so much more than those who've come before us. But the one thing that we make it a point in our program, and we just talked about this yesterday with our newcomers, we play for the ones who have come before us. And that is something that we remind our student athletes of, and having that attitude of gratitude. So, but anyways, we're thankful for all the support and really not just the financial support, but we're very fortunate to have, and there's a few of them on the call today, but they are there for our student athletes, and they're their biggest fans. And I think that that's what's most important, right? They're their biggest fans. They're mentoring them in other ways outside of just being an athlete or a student, helping them with professional development. And I think that's such an important part of our program. And I can speak on behalf of my kids. We are very thankful for that.
Great, thank you. And so all of you really have touched on resources. A key aspect of participating in varsity sports for many of our students is the possibility of receiving scholarships. In your roles, do you see the effect scholarship support has on the athletes you've worked with over the years? And maybe if we could switch up the order and go Katie, Clarissa, then Shar.
So of course, I mean, scholarships are huge. I think Shar touched on this in the beginning when she was introducing herself. I mean, I will say if I wasn't on scholarship, I would have not attended Penn State. For me, I was one of four. I had, my mom was an elementary school teacher. My dad was a teacher that eventually went into construction to make more money because there were four of us. And, my parents, they told us that they would pay for all of my siblings and me to go to an in-state school. So that was their deal with us. And, obviously I was the one that wanted to maybe get away and, and go somewhere different. Going to Illinois wasn't really an option for me since that was the local school. But I mean, scholarships, I think for some of these kids and all of them has a major impact. I was fortunate enough to give a couple kids a semester of money, and I'll tell you what, those kids are, I mean, it was one semester of tuition and books, and for them to receive that and to help their family financially was, those are things that I'll remember forever. And I know those kids will too, and how gracious they are for, we say just a semester, but I think for them, it's life-changing for a lot of them. So, scholarship money, I think it makes the world go around and can really help these kids achieve their goals and dreams too, whether they're taking an extra class to get those credits, taken care of. I think that, every dollar matters. And, we've been fortunate to be able to be fully funded, since I was an athlete here. And so being able to, split it up a little bit when we have the time and, the spring semester when we have players graduating early, because they've been afforded to take summer school. It's nice to be able to reward some players that, were never promised money to come here, but really wanted to be a part of Penn State. And so for me, I think that, every dollar we can get and help, and whether it's for tuition or books, I think it's life-changing. And so it's definitely something that, you don't forget as a coach, and, these players don't. And so when they're done and out in the real world, they want to give back. They want to give, opportunities to players, females, whatever sport it's on, because they had that opportunity. So, yeah, so I have seen it be life-changing for a lot of athletes. So thank you.
Yes, just I agree with Katie 100%. And I had a very similar story. I was fortunate to receive a scholarship as a student athlete going to Virginia Tech, and I was a first generation college student in my family. So that was the only way that I could go to school. So I know as a student athlete, it was financially, that was my means to go and get a college education. But I do think my experience as a student athlete, and also our student athletes here, just what it means to be a part of a team. I think, yes, it gives them the opportunity to be a part of our team. And we're fortunate here at Penn State that there's a lot of student athletes that want to be a part of our program. But just we are able to have an impact on those players and their growth as a person and as a leader, and just the resources that our student athletes have to be successful when they get here at Penn State, I think is tremendous. I think our staff does a really good job. So I think scholarships have a positive effect, and our sport, it's a little different than Katie's. It's similar to Shar's, but we have 26 student athletes on our roster, and we only have 12 full scholarships. So I have to figure out a way to divvy out that money. So, our kids, as far as the amount of money that they're on, they're really all across the board. So when we're able to provide any kind of, just even a small scholarship for a student athlete, it makes a huge difference for them and their families financially. So we're just thankful for all the support that our donors are able to give when it comes to scholarships.
Yeah, our sport is very similar to Clarissa's, where we are an equivalency sport. We have 12 full scholarships that we can divide up between. Right now we have 26 players, and we give every kid scholarship money. It's that important. I think everyone that would come into the program has worked hard to get this place. We're not hampered by only 12 head count sport scholarships that Katie might have, or women's basketball. So I think it's a pride thing for our student athletes. You want them to feel that they're being rewarded. They're a part of something where we're all going to try and do our best, and we want to make sure that we're giving them that scholarship so that they obviously do feel good about themselves. They're a scholarship player here at a Division I school. The other piece that it provides for our student athletes is Sandy Barber put in a summer bridge program. And I think this is where the scholarship piece is extremely valuable to our incoming freshmen. So any student athlete that is on scholarship can attend summer school prior to their freshman year, that summer of their freshman year, and it is completely paid for. And, you know, that way these players know they can come here. The parents can know that as well. Tuition's paid for, room and board, books. So that way they can make that transition from high school into their obviously fall semester. For us as a fall sport, it's extremely valuable because our players can get here, they can take 2 courses, they can work with our strength and conditioning coach, they can work with the other returners that are here living here this summer, they can get up on the field, they can play field hockey. So I think that really gives them a little bit of leg up in the game. So when they start in the fall, maybe they don't need to take as many classes as because we're in season as well. So I think that scholarship piece for that freshman year, summer freshman program is extremely valuable. And again, Penn State, when they instilled scholarships for women back in 1975, Title IX started in 1972. Penn State did it because it was the right thing to do. And I think that's where sometimes we forget. Yeah, Title IX had been mandated in 1972, but didn't mean that all of a sudden all these universities were giving money out because, you know, this bill had been passed. So I really give a lot of credit to like the Della Durants and the Marty Adams and the women have really fought for the women's scholarships and the support throughout those years. Because today, the athletes sort of think that there's a lot of scholarship money for everybody. My bone to pick is with the NCAA. I think that they need to offer more scholarships for our women's programs. I mean, you hear the Title IX, the inequities between participation numbers. So they want to add a crew team. Why don't you take care of the women that you have on campus so that we can keep that high quality? Hey, if you live, you know, on the Schuylkill and you want to have a crew team, all about it. But I think that we really need to look, the NCAA should look at ways that they can continue to increase scholarship opportunities for the women's teams that we have right now.
Thanks. And that's a great point, Shar. There's lots of conversations nationally speaking to exactly what you're talking about. Just sort of the limitations right now don't provide opportunities to meet proportionality in lots of instances. Yeah. So we've talked about scholarships, and it's really probably one of the first things that many people that comes to mind when people think about private support for athletics. So when we, I guess maybe if the 3 of you could talk about some of the financial hurdles your teams face when trying to compete at the highest level. So outside of scholarships, you know, if you can talk about some of those, the challenges, again, to compete, you know, just at the highest level. And maybe we'll start with Clarissa this time and then go Shar, then Katie.
Okay, thanks, Mo. So when I first arrived at Penn State, you know, you as a leader, head coach, you have to put together a strategic plan, right? So what do you envision for your program and how are you going to do it? So I will say a part of my strategic plan was fundraising. I think when you look at, especially softball, I don't know if the group knows this, but softball is actually the most watched collegiate sport behind football and men's basketball. Our game is very visible. And every year it's growing in population and in viewership. But with that, you know, there is a lot that it takes to compete at the highest level, basically, and facilities matter. You know, facilities matter, branding matters, and we have an amazing facility over at Beard Field. But when I came, I said, you know what, that's one space that we really have to fundraise for. So fundraising for me is one of the main things that I try to do. So not from just a recruiting standpoint, but we need to take care of our student athletes, and I want them to always feel like, you know what, we here at Penn State are going to do everything that we can to support them in every way. So for us, just fundraising to enhance our facilities, basically. For me, we're very fortunate. We had a great donor that the reason why we have our field is because of one particular donor, and you know, I know there was a few donors, but we were very fortunate to have donor support. That is why we have an amazing facility as it is. Fortunately, this summer, because of the fundraising that we did last year, we were able to renovate our team room, our players lounge, which for me, when I looked at our facility, I thought about what space impacts our student athletes the most. And that was the space. And I, you know, me as a recruiter as well, I had to think about, okay, when we come in, I want those recruits to see, wow, you know, that's the space that I get to spend time with my team with. So I do think we have challenges that we're all battling from a facility standpoint. I know Char's getting her facility redone, and we talked about, you know, it's been years in coming, but I think that is one of the challenges we have here at Penn State, is basically getting our facilities up to par, not just with the other Big Ten schools, but for us, we want to compete on a national level and win championships, which means we've got to get our facilities up to par with what's going on nationally. So, you know, that's one of my main focuses right now is to make sure that we're making improvements. And I'm so thankful for just the support of the donors that we've had financially. The other donor support that we've received is technology is a huge part of player development in this day and age. And I'm sure it's the same in Char's world and Katie. But we've been fortunate to have another donor who said, you know what, I would like to help invest in this. So that's another thing that we've really been able to upgrade in our program is our player development systems. So, but fundraising and anything really that's going to have an impact on our student athlete is where we're putting our attention on right now.
Yeah, the fundraising piece, I learned a lot about fundraising for the past 12 years when I initiated the conversation about getting a stadium for Penn State field hockey. And at the time, it probably was like a $2 million project. Today, it's close to a $13 million project. So throughout the past 12 years, I've seen myself as sort of a coach and a fundraiser, but something I actually love. I love interacting with alums, and I'd be more than happy to interact on the behalf of any of the other programs to talk about Penn State, being a Penn Stater myself. You know, I was very inspired by Joe Paterno, and he gave $2 million to the library. I think that he really spoke not just to, you know, what's best for the athlete, but what's best for the student as well. And I think that, you know, the fundraising piece, there are a lot, we have so many giving alums here. And I really have a lot of respect for all of you out there that are in development. I know it's not easy, and I found that out myself while I was trying to continue to coach. So I would say the fundraising piece is pretty much front and center for us, getting this new facility, but also within our own building here. Our new stadium will only have team rooms. We won't have locker rooms there. We won't have coaches' offices. And I wanted it specifically to be that way, because where I sit right now is an East Area locker building, and I have my two assistants right across the hall. And then I have Missy Darty, our women's lacrosse coach, and Jeff Tambroni, men's lacrosse, and upstairs, Jeff and Alex coaching tennis. And then their team rooms, the locker rooms of those sports are here as well. Our athletic training room is here. Our weight training room is here. So I like the interaction that our players have with other athletes. I like the interaction I have with the other coaches here, but our facility here is in desperate need of upgrading. I know Pat Kraft came in and he's like, this is disappointing. You know, I think because I've been here so long, I don't notice it as much, but I think the newer coaches do. But we're in a fundraising campaign here as well. Can we get training table for all our athletes? That would be something I think that would be really valuable. Let's get training table. We had that when I was in school. And again, that's how we made all our friends from the other sports. I know Pat's talked passionately about improving mental health counselors. We're going to get more for the student athletes. I think that's really important as well. So with the facilities, and as Clarissa had mentioned as well, the technology, our kids wear GPS monitors when they're at practice. It costs a lot of money year after year. So I think they're the items that we need to help be very competitive when we go out to recruit these players. I know in the Big Ten, Michigan has an amazing facility. So does Iowa State's is pretty good. Ohio State's is decent, but I think our facilities here, and I think you'll hear Pat talk a little bit more about it, is that's where we need to sort of catch up with the Joneses, in my opinion, is the facility piece. And fortunately, we're on that right path. But there are a lot of other, our weight training room here in East Area Locker Building, there are probably 15 teams that use that little room. So the scheduling is a problem with it. So I think if we could get, a bigger weight training area, the nutrition piece, those types of facilities would really be, I think, helpful with the recruiting piece, and then being competitive more on the national stage that Clarissa's talking about.
Great. Yeah, Katie, if you want to hop in just real quick, because we do have some questions coming in.
Yeah, no, just my strategic plan is to not screw this up. So that's where I'm at here. So, I think Penn State volleyball has been very fortunate, and I think Coach Rose did a tremendous job with, what he did with donor support. I mean, we have a great facility, and obviously some of the upgrades with locker rooms and our practice gym can happen. But, I think we have a pretty special place here. But yes, the money to help, a team meal room and all of that, I think is something that, we need to do. And it will not only help volleyball, but I think all the other sports as well. So I'll leave it at that so you can answer questions.
Great, thank you for that. So, we appreciate the thoughtful responses from our three panelists, and there's probably so much more I could sort of pepper you with from a question perspective, but we really do want to give the attendees an opportunity to ask their questions. So I'm going to jump right in. There's the one came in. And so the question is, I'll read it directly. I would like to hear from each coach the challenge that the two new West Coast teams being added to the Big Ten will have on their particular program. And in particular, maybe touch on travel costs. And so maybe, Shar, if you want to hop in on that one.
Sure. Right now, it's probably not going to impact me because they don't. Yeah, but what's really important is we need UCLA and USC to add field hockey. They're in a perfect position right now. I understand USC may need to add some other women's sports, but the 2028 Olympics are going to be back in LA. I competed in LA in 84, but the opportunity for those two teams to have two beautiful world-class field hockey facilities built in their own backyards, it would be a great opportunity for them to add field hockey. There are 3 schools in Northern California that compete: Cal, Stanford, and UC Davis. So it would really help the growth of our sport. And then I would say, hopefully there'd be a West Coast, group competing, and probably an East Coast group, but it would really enhance the growth of field hockey for us.
Katie, if you want to talk about the two West Coast teams' impact on volleyball.
Yeah, it's huge for volleyball. I mean, they're powerhouse schools, and they're gonna make it real exciting. I mean, lucky for us, we're not gonna have to be traveling. They're gonna be the ones having to travel east all the time. We'll have to probably go out there once a season. So competitive volleyball wise, it's going to be great. I was recruiting when everyone found out that this was happening, and I saw both those coaches, and I'll tell you, they weren't too thrilled, but I'm welcoming them, and I think it'll be great for our sport, and hopefully, with softball and field hockey, we can get those sports added, and it'll be great for everyone. Great.
Clarissa, how about you?
Yes. So USC does not have a softball program, but I am hoping, anytime any school can add another female sport, I think we're all in favor of that. But UCLA is definitely a powerhouse. So like Katie said, from a competitive standpoint, it's definitely a huge thing. And similar to what Katie said, I was also out recruiting and also saw them out recruiting, and they also were not happy. I think it probably affects them a little bit more. Yes, financially, we're going to have to go out there, but when we add those two teams, that'll take us up to 16 teams. And right now we don't even play everybody in conference every year because there's just too many of us. So I'm thinking we're probably going to have to go out there. They're coming here. We'll probably play them every other year. I don't see us playing them every single year. So for us, from an RPI competitive standpoint, it's great. From a travel standpoint, it'll be a lot easier for us to go out west than it'll be for them to come out east.
Great. I think, yeah, Clarissa and Katie's point of Penn State having to do it once a season or once every other season, whereas those two teams are doing it many times throughout the course of the season, is going to impact them significantly more. So the next question we have, and there's a couple of, the next two questions are dealing with NIL, and so that's name, image, and likeness. So the question is how does NIL impact the Olympic sports and women's sports in general? And what are you seeing across the country? And I'll maybe sort of open it up to whichever coach wants to jump in.
I can jump in. I'll tell you, when it was first announced, our players didn't really embrace it because I think they didn't know really what it was. So we had Pat Kraft had a gentleman with the company come and speak to our team just a month ago. And, you know, one of the questions that one of my players asked was like, we didn't jump into NIL because we were thinking, who's going to pay for a field hockey player's autograph, or who's going to give a field hockey player an opportunity to make a lot of money. And, you know, he really just put it back into perspective and said, well, you know, it's not necessarily about making money, but maybe it's about getting internship programs and ways that you could, you know, get connected with alumni that could possibly pay for some of those opportunities as well. But our players, I think they're in the very, very early stages of dipping their toe in. We have one player that has a stick deal, and that's really about it. I feel that our student athletes, their plate is so full with so many things that I just don't think that they want to put something else on their plate right now, which I'm fine with, but I think we just need to investigate a little bit more of the potential opportunities.
Well, as far as in the softball world, there are a lot of things that are going on. And like I mentioned earlier, we're in the midst of recruiting right now, so I'm on calls all day with recruits, and I've had 3, 4, 5 of them asking, "Do you have any NIL deals for your student athletes?" Because that is becoming a big part of the sport world. It's one of those things for so many years, you know, we talked, well, we can't provide them with anything, you can't give them money, and now we completely flipped the switch. So for me, it's taken me some time to kind of adapt to what is going on. But as far as things going on in our sport, I mean, if you go play at Oklahoma, you're getting a lot of money to go play at Oklahoma from an NIL standpoint. We're hearing thousands of dollars. I've heard stories. This is a Big 12 school where a donor went to a coach and said, hey, if you go out and get an elite player out of the transfer portal, this is the amount of money that I can provide from them. So we've got a lot of things like that going on in our sport. As far as what we're doing here at Penn State, though, I have worked with Success with Honor. I've had a couple of meetings with them, because the way that we are trying to do it here at Penn State, we're trying to do it the right way, which is, hey, let's go out, find internships for our student athletes that they can get paid for. Whereas before, it was something that, you know, we couldn't pay student athletes to do certain things. So that's the approach that I'm taking with NIL. I do think as coaches and athletes, you know, it's something new, we have to learn. So I'm really right now just in the process of learning of what other programs are doing, what other sports are doing. I know Katie's up against some challenges in the NIL space with some of the things that I hear other volleyball programs are doing, Nebraska in particular. But But yeah, so this is something that I've decided that is important for my current student athletes. I think it's important for the long-term success of Penn State softball. So it is something that I am currently working on with Success with Honor of, hey, what can we do to provide our student athletes some opportunities out there that they can maybe get paid for. But our kids are doing things such as maybe running their own camps. I think one of our student athletes are, I can't remember what company it is, but she has to send out a tweet, once a month, and they're going to pay her for that. So our kids aren't doing anything crazy, but they are finding ways that fit them to partake in NIL.
Katie, anything to add?
No, just that, the exposure that our players are getting being on TV is definitely going to help them. The ones that want to engage in, these activities and trying to find sponsors and things like that. I do think Penn State is working to do it the right way. I mean, whether we like it or not, athletes are going to be making money, and I think that's here to stay. So I think for me, that was the hard part is, getting on board with that. And, as coaches, we're not allowed to, help them do these things, and they have services that they can use to help find. But we have a couple players making some money, and I mean, we had one sign a deal with Crocs, and she gets free Crocs. She's not making any money. And I think it's just more for, she's got to post a couple pictures of her wearing her new shoes. And so I'm happy for them. They have to put in the time and the effort to do it, but time is limited, and I think the ones that will end up doing it have to put a little bit more work into it. But it's definitely it's in the volleyball world, and schools are definitely promising money, and I think we do it the right way, and we're not making those promises as coaches, because that's first of all, we're not even supposed to be talking to it about with athletes and recruiting them. So we tell them that there's a program in place here that will help them, and it'll be up to them. So but yeah, it's here to stay. So
Great. So sort of a follow-up to and staying in the NIL space. So if a donor has limited means to give each year, but want to support athletics, is it more impactful to give to NIL efforts or to athletic facility / team efforts? So any thoughts on that one?
I'm going to say team efforts. I think the more money we can get in for, whether it's all the sports pulling together, or if it's, I don't want to just say the women sports, but I mean, I think any money we can help get and support each other and, have all these athletes have a great experience. I think that's the way to go. I do know in some of these high profile sports that they're having to get money to pay some players and to help them along the way. And I think that that's okay. But I think the more we can get everyone involved and help each other is the way to go.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest question. And just talking with the representative from Success with Honor, who is our collective here at Penn State that we are working with in the athletic department. But, I think it's for me, and this is really new, and I'm kind of just in the past couple of weeks trying to formulate a plan on how I'm going to attack this. And the way that I look at it is, man, if I could, whatever I can do that's permissible to help my student athletes financially, this is a great opportunity to do it. Whether it's, I'm thinking of different ways in which to do that, whether it's, hey, if you want to sponsor one of my players, but not just to give them money, but hey, can you serve as a mentor for my student athletes? And if you can sponsor them as well, great. But back to the question, what I've talked to with Success with Honor is, hey, coach, let's just help you raise money, and you do with it what you need to, because, we do have program needs. But I also want to figure out a way to also help my student athletes financially. And I also think it's just up to the donor. And I think a lot of donors, especially those who have been giving a long time, similar to me, Katie, and probably Shar, we're all trying to wrap our heads around what does this actually mean? This is not just about the athletes, about the program, but I think it should be up to the donor and how they want to give. Maybe they say, hey, I really want to help in this NIL space, but hey, coach, I also understand that you're trying to raise money, for your facilities and things like that. So for me, it's whichever way they want to give the money, we would be thankful either way.
One of the first fundraising efforts I started when I got to Penn State was fundraising for an international trip every 4 years. And I think that's just an amazing experience, especially for the sport of field hockey. I've taken teams probably 8 different trips to Australia, to Holland, to Germany, to Italy, to Spain. And so that team type of support would be really very, very beneficial. And what we do with our team is we try to raise money for them, and hopefully, we raise enough that everybody can go without having to pay. But we really go back to those team members that I took to Holland and England the first year and said, hey, we raised money for you to go. Why don't you help us give back? And so we really ask the alums to really help these players have the same experience that you once had. But I think something where a donation like that it's an educational trip as well as an athletic trip. It's a cultural trip. It's something that the team is really, really going to benefit from. One of the other programs that I would say too is we do a lot of these team building programs where we have to really raise the money. It's not built into our budgets. And I think something like that as well could benefit, an event that we would think to do maybe during preseason.
Thank you. So there's one more question in the chat, so that's probably going to be our last one based on the time. But if there's anything, if you all have questions that you didn't have an opportunity to ask, you can put them in the chat and we'll follow up via email after the event. So the last question is a bit of a doozy, and I like it. So it seems like the NCAA is sitting back and allowing others, politicians, networks, etc., drive the changes in college athletics. What would you like to see the NCAA do to improve your sport? In addition, obviously, to more than just adding scholarships. What are some things that the NCAA could do to improve your sport, do you think?
I think scholarships and for our sport, allowing us to have another coach. Right now we have 26 kids on roster. When you look at we have 26 kids on roster, and we have 1 director of ops, and we have 2 paid coaches, and we're allowed to only have 1 volunteer. But when you look at, I think the basketball, the way they're set up, they have director of operations, player development, 3 coaches, their staffing is so much more. And I think Katie and Shar have the same situation that we have. They have an external player development person and then an internal player development person. Whereas, we are trying to do a lot with really just 4 people, and we're fortunate to have volunteered. But it's a volunteer who is also working a full-time job. So for us, it would definitely be scholarships, and it would be just allowing us to have more staff.
Yeah, I absolutely think the scholarship piece as well. And I think, what I don't like about the NCAA, and in a short time, I'll keep it short, is, they just want to paint a wide brush through all the programs. And I think, trying to give more visibility to the women's athletic programs. Also, they look at our sport and, you can only have 16 teams go to the NCAA championship. Well, we've got a highly competitive Division I program here. We may not have it in every state of the country, but really take a look at what your sport needs and really delve into that and ask the people in that program what they need. And I would say, better championship support, and obviously the scholarship piece and staffing. Agree with Clarissa.
No, I agree with both of them. I think that, the scholarship piece, and I do agree with those comments. The NCAA is sitting back on a lot of things, and obviously, Shar has the most experience with all of that and the changes with the NCAA. And I think once the NIL stuff was announced, they kind of just, they just let it go, and they're going to see how it flies. And I think pretty soon there's going to be rules in place with that everyone's going to be, not know what to do then. So no, I think that the scholarship piece is crucial, and I'd like to see the NCAA broadcast more female sports. I think volleyball is one of them that, we're very fortunate. We're I mean, we're on Big Ten Network 11 times this season, which is a lot. And, you know, I think we'll be on ESPN2 a couple times, but I mean, we're fortunate, but, you know, I think that the more we can push, and instead of playing replays of, you know, 1980 football, let's play some women's sports. So, I would like to see the NCAA do that. So nothing against the 80s football. My dad, you know, I get that, but I mean, you know, we can see some, you know, new age females that are strong and physical, and, you know, show the world that that's okay. So
It's a good thing you didn't say 80s field hockey. Katie.
no, never.
Right. Well, if you all even questioned whether or not we were dealing with professionals, we are, because it is 1 o'clock. And so, so thank you to the panelists. You all were amazing. Thank you to everyone for joining us. We really hope that you enjoyed the opportunity to learn a little bit more about women's athletics. Just a reminder, there's a recording of this event and it will be shared. You can certainly share it with any of your friends or colleagues who weren't able to make it today. The next Noontime Knowledge series for Penn State fundraising volunteers, presidential counselors, and donors will happen in November, and it will focus on this year's Giving Tuesday efforts. So until next time, thanks for everyone. Thanks to everyone for being here, and enjoy the rest of your day.
Thanks, Mo. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thanks so much. Good seeing you guys.
And there's lots of thank yous coming through the chat.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah.